Of Daisuke and because of Java. So I kept watching Daisuke pitch. I'm a Red Sox fan, and I'd see his line come up. It'd be 4 2/3, 5 innings, 5 1/3, and I'm thinking we paid so much money for this guy. He's got to be pitching more innings than this. And then on the other side of it, as much as I hate the Yankees, you see a guy like Java who, just because he can't throw more than 3 or 4 innings, he's getting marginalized in the league. In fact, I mean he's borderline, almost out of the league at this point. And it's like, well, if this guy could just throw 4 innings, he could find a great place at some team. So thinking about those two guys, I realized there's got to be a way to minimize the role of the starter and maximize the role of like a long reliever kind of person, a guy who can't fit a starter role. There's got to be an excess of that talent pool. So the whole idea here is based on 2 things. One, that the more a batter faces a pitcher in a game, the better he's going to do. So that's here. This is saying, the first time up, the batter's going to perform much worse than the second or third time up. Mm-hmm. So if you're able to minimize the number of times that a pitcher faces a batter in a game, you'll come out on top. The other side of the coin is, currently bullpen pitchers are bullpen pitchers because they're below average. And right now, and 20 years ago, they weren't pitching much of the game, and now they're pitching more and more of the game, about an inning more. So the idea is also to minimize the role of the bullpen. So what I did is I took every pitcher who threw more than 150 innings in a season, and I said, okay, let's take the 8 most average guys, and let's assume that you construct a pitching staff of those 8 guys and you make 4 pairs of them. So on a given night, 2 guys are going to go out. You're going to have the first guy pitch innings 1 through 4, and the second guy is going to pitch innings 5 through 8. So they're going to be paired up like that. And then you're going to have 4 bullpen spots to carry the instances where there's a 9th inning to pitch or extra innings, or if a guy can't go his 4 innings. So I took the 8 most average guys from that. They're mostly like 3rd, 4th, 5th spot rotational guys.
Okay.
And I said, well, what would they average? What would they have averaged from a runs against per batters faced standpoint? And how does that match up against the traditional team, the traditional 5-man rotation? And what I found is that in 2009, you would have actually saved 96 runs allowed over the course of the season had you used the paired pitching approach with those 8 average guys. Those are average guys.
Now, are you talking about this for every pitcher, or are you saying let's see Sabathia go his 8 innings, and then when we get down to the 3rd, 4th, 5th starters, we're going to use pairs? Or are you pairing everyone?
So I'm doing this assuming pair everybody.
Uh-huh.
I've been talking to a lot of people at the conference so far, and what would happen if you had a hybrid of it, where you have 2 great, a team with 2 great starters on long contracts, but you've got 3 spots in the rotation that aren't, so you can't fill them. You could do this. You could maybe make a hybrid of it, depending on how reliable your bullpen is. So there is that kind of caveat to it. The nice thing that I found in this is because you're asking guys you're telling them you're only going to throw 4 innings. Like, I don't care if you have a perfect game going. I'm yanking you. The guys like Roy Halladay, Sabathia are going to pitch in this system. They would never do this as long as there's a 5-man rotation available. So you almost, by design, have to save money on doing it. So that's what's down here. It's saying, the average runs allowed in salary for an entire pitching staff runs like this. And so at the low end, you've got, I think it's the Marlins have about $11 million payroll for their entire pitching staff, but they give up about 760 runs in the season. And by design, the average pitching staff for the entire pitching staff for the paired pitching system would be $11 million.
Wow, that would be a huge savings.
It would be a massive, massive savings, and you'd be saving those almost 100 runs, and saving, what was that? About $30 million. So the idea is like a twofold savings, a kind of strategic restructuring of what I consider a pretty inefficient piece of the game, which is starting pitching, and especially bullpen pitching. And so you'd end up saving money. You're not bidding for the higher guys. So in practice, I don't see every team doing this. If every team did it, where would Roy Halladay go?
Right.
Somebody would. The opportunity to sign Roy Halladay as a starting pitcher is too great. So you would end up with a certain critical mass where some teams would do this and some teams wouldn't. which actually is nice because in the Moneyball era, a team comes up with a great strategic difference, it only is a little blip until everybody else starts doing it. But this, by design, you would never have everybody doing it, as long as there's more talented players in the talent pool. So I think this could be a sustainable competitive advantage for teams.
Well, Greg, thank you very much.
You're welcome.